Hey, welcome, Fargo. This is Jon Adams, Talk of the Town on a cloudy, rainy Wednesday afternoon. And let's just dive right in. First of all, the Facebook feed, we're having a little bit of trouble getting it up, but we should get it up sooner or later. Otherwise, remember, you can always view my show on YouTube or on our show page in the podcast section. So here we are. We're off and running. I don't have any guests in studio because I got a lot to cover, and I don't even know where to start. There's so much going on, but I'm going to start. If you guys were able to see me, you would see that I am all decked out in my Viking gear, which says that we had a Viking victory. And for anybody who's a Viking fan, these past 2 weeks have got to make you feel pretty good. And for me, we have what we call Viking Sunday Fun Day. And we had a house full of people and good food. And to sit and watch the Vikings play the way they did, the biggest issue that we wanted to know about going into the season was, would Sam Darnold be able to command an offense? Would he be able to make the throws? Would he be able to lead a game-winning drive? And the interesting thing is, the first two games, it appears that this guy is on fire. He's making all the reads. He's making the great throw. That pass to Justin Jefferson, the 98-yard pass, that was a thing of beauty. You dropped it right in the bucket. But more than that, it looks like the offensive line, when they get in trouble, the big thing that we saw with Kirk Cousins, when Kirk Cousins got a hand on him or he even felt like he was going to be touched, he just went down. And he'd go down and he'd be like, man, dude, make a move one way or the other. Do something, right? Well, it was nice to see a quarterback that could scramble. It was nice to see the Viking running game come alive. I mean, I can't remember the last time when we had two running backs that regardless of who was in there, you felt pretty confident they could get a yard or two. So that was the first half. So watching the Vikings offense actually perform was pretty good. But what amazes me, and I said this before, I put the Vikings on 9 games this year. 9 wins for the year. And a lot of people are like, yeah, they won't even get to 500. Well, they're off to a good start. And part of it is, if you look at Brian Flores' defense, and I said it before, when he was at Miami, he had no names. He only had a couple superstars. We've seen what he can do now that he has his guys in there. Now, I also believe that it's the beginning of the season, and with the pros, most of you guys know this, the pros don't play in the preseason. The starters typically don't. So we see that with C.J. Stroud, the guy in Carolina. He played 1 series in Carolina. He's just awful as a quarterback. Our starters played a little bit, but not a whole lot. So I always say that the first 3 games of the season, you can kind of throw them out because now it's the preseason for the starters. You know, so you see some of these teams that are 2-0 like the Vikings, and you say, how can that be? Well, I'm excited about it, but I'm also tempering it with the fact that once people get enough on paper with Sam Darnold, this is the first time that he's truly been a starter in an offense where people have to think about what to do to him. It used to be all you had to do was blitz him. All you had to do was get a hand on him, and he was going to – he most famously said when he was with the Jets, they said, what's going on out there? He said, I'm seeing ghosts. Well, if your quarterback is seeing ghosts, the chances of him making a good throw are slim and none. He's going to be gun shy. But I got to tell you, I like what I saw in the offense. It's also, think about this, our top 3 pass catchers were out for the final quarter of that game. No T.J. Hawkinson, no Jordan Addison, no Justin Jefferson, and yet that offense was still able to function, and that's a credit to Kevin O'Connell. And so now the question is, what happens next week? So Houston is a pretty good team. They've got a great coach down there, and DeMarco Murray. I believe it's DeMarco Murray. He coaches them up hard. The kid is mobile. Probably be our best test. I think that not having Christian McCaffrey hurt San Francisco a little bit. But they had a dynamic running game. That I don't know where they get these running backs from, but that kid ran hard. Very good. Very good. They'll be back. So with that, I covered the Vikings. Now let's get to the local football teams, and we'll start off with, I'm sure everybody saw the Bison. You know, I thought they would win all the time, and part of it is if you played the game, there are a couple things that you realize about the game, is that when you're playing an opponent and you're not supposed to win, you have to learn how to beat them. And if you've ever been a champion, you know how to win. And with the Bison, if you watch their games, they don't, regardless of what's going on, they don't get flustered, okay? When they cut down on the mental mistakes, they're unbeatable. And that's what happened toward the end of that game. Now, getting the onside kick, was that lucky? Well, that's what I'm talking about. An experienced person who's up there to catch the ball, okay? That ball's coming at him hard enough, and he knows that he's going to get whacked. He's got to let it go to the guys that are behind him. It was a classic mistake. Now, it did hit right at him, but also they still had to drive down and score. So it's not like the onside kick was the only thing that happened. But when I coached, I always used to tell our players, you make your own luck. So I like the fact that the Bison put themselves in a position to win that game. It was awesome. It was awesome to see, and just the way that they went about it. You know, I like the fact that there's no swagger with these kids where they have to taunt the other team, or they have to show the other team up and all this. They just go about their business. Hats off to Coach Polasek and the Bison. And now we're going to talk the Cobber. I didn't get to see the Cobber game, but I understand that they absolutely put the screws to Pacific Lutheran and beat them down. Now let's get to my beloved Dragons. I went to the first game of the season. I was with some former players, and we were all sitting around talking. And honestly, we thought, you know what? It's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You know, the offense didn't look like it was clicking. The defense was getting burned in the secondary. We weren't getting much pass rush. And lo and behold, they rise up and they take down Duluth. Now, as a Dragon, I know that we haven't beaten Duluth since 1992. And here we come out and drive down the field. And credit Coach Lacqua. It takes a lot of guts to go for two and the win. You know, but I like the idea that, you know what, put it in your players' hands and allow them to do what they do, allow them to rely on their coaching and their talent, and they got it done. So all in all, what a great weekend of sports for me. I loved everything about this weekend. I'm a football fanatic. I like college more than I like the pros. But all in all, it was a great weekend. If you want to call in and talk about it, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Now, let's get to the week in review. And it's funny because, as you guys know, I have been a proponent of DEI. I think it's something that's necessary within the city of Fargo. That was eliminated as of Monday. And I went to the city commission meeting first to speak on it. Secondly, to see what the vibe is in the community. And there were people that got up and spoke, and they were happy that it was cut from the budget. And the great thing about America is if you decide that you want to participate in the process, you have a voice. Doesn't mean that you're always heard, but at least you have a voice. And so I was sitting there, and I was listening to what people had to say about DEI, and the overwhelming sense that I got is that there was a disconnect from the start as to what DEI was supposed to do. Okay? Not only that, I've said it before, it was poorly implemented, poorly staffed, and underfunded. But I believe in this. When something happens and it's done, you put it to bed. And so as far as I'm concerned, DEI is done. All right? So now, the people that are affected by not having DEI, We could sit here and cry about it. We could sit here and be mad about it, or you can pivot. Okay? The one thing that I heard come out of the city commission meeting was there were a number of citizens, whether they were talking about DEI, or they were talking about the budget, or they were talking about taxes. People are not satisfied with our local government. There was a lady that came and she talked about, she's a senior citizen, she's on a fixed income, and she talked about how she had been before the city commission. It was her third year, and I wish I could remember her name because I would certainly give her a shout out. But she talked about how taxes are basically killing her because they go up every year. And so I want you to think about this. You work your whole life, you retire, and now it's getting more difficult for you to stay in your home because you have a fixed income. A home that you worked your, excuse me, sorry, a home that you worked your whole life to acquire, right? Part of the American dream. And now there's a possibility that you can't stay in that home because you're being taxed out of it. So we're going to go to break here. But when I come back, I want to talk about the disconnect between what our city leaders are doing and what we actually need. This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Hey, welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm in studio with myself. I've been talking Viking football and the fabulous sports weekend that it was. Very excited about what I saw from the Vikings, the Dragons, and the Bison. And it's funny because the Bison are a source of pride for everybody that lives in the state of North Dakota. I mean, it's just something that when they win, we celebrate. When we lose, it's not the best of days, so to speak. So I'm very excited for what I've seen out of the Bison program. I think Coach Polasek has them heading in the right direction. I'm excited to see what comes next. Hopefully, I can secure a ticket to actually go see them live. But if not, watching on TV is not half bad either. So with that, let's continue on. I was talking about the City Commission and the fact that there seems to be a disconnect, and whether we're talking about DEI or we're talking about taxes, it's something that how do we get the ear of these commissioners? So I talked to a couple of the commissioners, and this whole thing of COLAs, the cost of living increase that employees get. I have one commissioner saying that he would like to see the COLAs eliminated. Okay? Now, I've seen what the city of Fargo workers get paid, and they get paid pretty well. And so the one commissioner, his idea is, listen, they are very well compensated. We don't need a COLA. Whereas we have other commissioners saying, not only should we have a COLA, it should be at 4.5. Now, either way, we are talking about our tax dollars, okay? And we expect some sort of resolution, and I want people to pay attention to what's coming out of the city of Fargo in terms of solutions. It seems like there's a lot of talk about things that should get done, but areas of substance, things that everyday people need, seem to be falling by the wayside. I mean, we can talk ad nauseum about taxes. I've frequently heard Pepcorn say the citizens are tired of being overtaxed. They're being taxed out of existence. Right now we have a measure on the coming up on the election where we're going to vote on a 1/4-cent tax for fire in the police department. And on its face, it's like, well, for me, I'm like, well, we need to fund these things. Why aren't we properly funding these things? Particularly since the budget has gone up by 5 to 10% every year. These are questions that we have to ask, but we all have to be involved. It can't just be a few of the same people. Like I used to give Tony Gehrig a hard time because that was his baby. Talking about property taxes, he was a staunch supporter of eliminating or reducing property taxes. But we need to do something. Like I said, there was a lady that spoke at the commission that had been going there for 3 years, and you could see that she was visibly upset that she wasn't being heard. So, to my way of thinking, for us as citizens, we all pay taxes. I love it when commissioners say, well, the taxpayers don't want this or the taxpayers want that. What tax? We all pay taxes, whether it's to fund the engagement center or it's to fund a new parking ramp. That's all of our money. But it seems like not everybody is being heard in a meaningful way. So then we've got to ask ourselves, what are the solutions that are coming out of the city commission? We certainly know that there's a fair amount of infighting going on. We know that there are factions within the commission, and it's understandable. Particularly if you lean one way or the other, you're going to have that. But I am a solutions-oriented person, which means that, and I always told my kids this, if you see a problem and you want to speak on a problem, come with some ideas for a solution. We got enough people out there complaining about what's not right. We all need to be involved in the process. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think about the operation of our city government. I've said it before, it's not an easy job, but at the same time, if you sign up for it, it's got to look like it's supposed to look. And right now, I don't think it does. Um, we were told that DEI was cut. It's a funding issue. Well, for those of us who've done our homework, we know that it wasn't something that was wanted. And it almost felt like it was forced down the throats of the commissioners that didn't vote for it, as well as some people. And there was a young man that spoke at the city commission about how he thought it was a waste and he hadn't seen any results. And to his credit, he just said what he felt. I thought it was funny because anybody who doesn't know what Dr. Hogan has done is choosing not to find that information. If you want to remain willfully ignorant and say, well, he hasn't done anything. For those of us who were affected by Dr. Hogan, we know for a fact that he worked hard and tirelessly on the behalf of the people that he was supposed to work for. Not only minorities and immigrants, but veterans, people with disabilities, the homeless. These are the people that were affected by the decision to remove DEI. But now where do we go from here? And one of the things that I didn't hear and I haven't heard is solutions to now another problem that you've created, because now you have a certain segment of the population that's disenfranchised, meaning that they don't believe that they have a voice in government. So if 30% of your populace believes that the government isn't working in their best interest, what does that say about the city commission? We want people to be a part of the process, and I heard over and over again, well, as a city commissioner, I'm available to anyone. Any citizen can call me at any time. Well, that's great. People have been calling you for a number of years on the tax thing, and we haven't seen any solutions. And so for me, that's what I want. That's what I want to see out of the city of Fargo and the commissioners as well as the mayor. Enough of the lip service. Let's see some results that help all people. It looks like we're up against the break. When we come back, we'll continue on how do we build a stronger Fargo? How do we make sure that our local government is working for us? This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Wow. So we have a sub in studio. Big Game James is off doing something important. We have a new young man out here. I forgot your name, sir.
Addison.
Huh?
Addison.
Addison. My bad, Addison. It
It's
happens. It happens. Sometimes I don't remember my kids' names, but
You're good.
Addison is out there spinning the turntable, doing a great job with the music and getting it in and out of breaks. So last segment I talked about we need a solutions-based government. And so what I mean by that is we need solutions that move all people forward, you know? And, we talk about life not being fair. There are people who say, well, I don't want my taxes to go for this, and this isn't the role of government. Well, I happen to believe that government needs to meet the needs of all citizens in some way or fashion, okay? And when we eliminate programs like DEI or we shrink the health department, or a larger issue is when we put programs in place without proper funding, those decisions fall directly on the people that we elect. And so as citizens, we should be questioning this. When they talk about balancing the budget, I happen to peruse the budget. I don't claim to be an accounting whiz or math whiz on budgets, but I looked at the thing, and I suppose I spent maybe an hour looking at it, and it seemed to me the easiest solution would just be to cut all spending by 2% across the board across each department. And if you did that and you let the department heads decide where they were going to cut, we would be able to balance the budget. We would be more, and I don't know if we'd be balance it, but it would be more in line with what matters, okay? So now things like the engagement center. Now I know that the engagement center was started with COVID money, which again, on its face, you think about that. So they put the engagement center downtown. They fund it with money that is going to run out. People start using that as a resource, and now we're at a point where we have people that are dependent on that, and it's going to go away. I don't believe that they're going to keep it. And secondly, where they put the engagement center. We have a committee, I believe it's called Urban Development and Planning, or the Planning Commission. When thinking these decisions through, there are plenty of vacant commercial buildings in this town. We know that for a fact. Why did we hastily do what we did? I would rather them, just like DEI, take their time and come up with something that is sustainable than to just do something that is a knee-jerk reaction and is not sustainable. This is the way we have to start thinking about our government. This is the way, if we are going to maintain our viability economically and we want people to come here, I find it amazing that, the job rate is so low, the employment rate is so low, but are we making our city attractive for people to come here? Excuse me. I know that, and I've talked to some of the immigrant families in this community, and they don't feel like Fargo necessarily is a place that they want to live anymore. That's a heavy statement, considering that we're trying to keep our students here, We're trying to make sure that our businesses and our community thrive and maintain, but yet we're doing things as a city, as city government, that doesn't point in that direction. So these are all things that were on my plate today, and I wanted to talk about it because if we don't talk about it, then we get the programs that we've been seeing rolled out of the city commission. We see programs that just pay lip service to serious problems. And once we have that, then we get people not being engaged. And nowhere is that more evident is when we look at the school boards that we have in town. If I had a student in public school right now, I would be very concerned. I would have some serious issues with what's going on, all the way from curriculum to protection, to the way students and administration are treated. I mean, this is a huge thing. And so we want our community to be viable. Part of it is, if I'm moving to Fargo, I want to know that it's a great school system. I want to know that when my son or daughter goes to school, that they're going to be safe, that they're going to learn the things that they need to learn, and that they're going to have the resources to move forward as they need to. And listening to people talk in the community, that's not the case. And so in all these instances, I'm trying to paint a picture of people being disconnected from what matters. And so when we have that, we have to make a decision. We have to decide, how do we get what's best for our citizens? How do we get what's best for our students? How do we move the needle forward so that we maintain, and I've said it before, I love living in Fargo, okay? Despite my rant today on the radio, I love everything about Fargo. People are amazing. You can't go anywhere without, I was in Costco yesterday, and it's the usual thing. I'm nodding and waving and smiling and having conversations, and it's funny because, of course, I got the usual question was, hey, who did you used to play football for? Which I always find amazing is that question. It's not like, hey, how are you doing today? But the point I'm making is, as citizens, we have to pay attention. We have to be involved. So that's my rant about the city council, and you could take it for what it's worth, and some people think that I'm just out here pontificating. Somebody told me, you sound like a preacher a lot of the time, and I said, well, my dad was a minister, okay? And so maybe that's where I got it from, but I'll say it again. I think we need better solutions coming out of our city, coming out of our city government. I think that we as citizens, we have to pay attention to that, okay? If we do that, it's going to be more viable. There's a saying that a rising tide lifts all boats, and I take that to mean that if we're all in this together and we look out for one another, we can move the needle forward for people. Like I've said it before, my wife and I, we're in one of the higher tax brackets, and we don't mind paying taxes that go to meet the needs of people that maybe need a hand up, that maybe need some support that the government can provide. And I think when we start losing the ability to help people that aren't as well off as us, we fall into a dangerous thing where we get what I would like to call a malaise, where it's everybody for themselves. And I can tell you that I have never felt in Fargo that the community is just about one group or another group. I've always felt like that in Fargo, that I could achieve things because I always felt like people were pulling for me, that my kids would have a great shot at a great life because people pull for you, they root for you, they want what's best for you. That's the strength of who we are as people that live in Fargo. But I think that's being eroded. It's being eroded. Now I'm not gonna put this all on the city council or the city commission. A lot of times we get what we get because we're not engaged. Early on when I started this show, I talked about a thing called citizenship. And we learned about citizenship in grade school and elementary school. And that was participating in society, whether it was voting, which for me, that is the ultimate civic duty that we have. And that is, we need to get out and vote. We need to pay attention to what's happening in our city government because it all affects us. Every last bit of it. So with that, there's one other topic that I want to bring up that I think is pretty important and we need to pay attention to. And that's on the national scene. And if you watch what's happening on our national scene, again, where are the solutions? Where are the solutions? I hear this rhetoric going back and forth about immigration, but I'm not hearing any solutions. Since when did politics become about just sniping back and forth and not taking care of the business of the people? It's a very subtle thing, but you couldn't possibly be happy with the way our government has been run in any form or fashion. But yet, when I look at social media or I look at the news, we're looking at all the sensationalism, but we're not looking at what are our leaders saying as to how they're going to get things done. That's on us as citizens, okay? And we've allowed them to divide us into Dems and Repubs, conservatives and liberals, well, yet the business of the people is not getting done. So that's something that I think, honestly, we need to focus on. We need to get out and vote. Jacob, oh man, I forgot his name. At noon, he's going to talk about absentee voterism, how to vote, how to register, all those things. It's important to be a part of the process. We need to get out and vote. And I'm going to be hitting that hard over the next few weeks because it's important. You know, right now, you think about it, on our city commission, we have what I would call junior commissioners who have very little experience in politics. But yet, they're making decisions that are going to affect all of us. It's important that we vote for people. Now, there weren't a whole lot of great choices. I'm not gonna kid you. There weren't a whole lot of great choices when it came to the city commission election. You know, and I'm not gonna say we got it right. I don't believe that we got it right, but hey, the people spoke, and this is the city commission that we have. But we need to start paying attention because in another 16, 18 months, we're going to have another election. And I think it's going to be pivotal what happens from then to now. And if you are not happy with the way our city is being run, you need to start paying attention. We need to start doing our due diligence and not rely on the news media. I always say I don't like the media, and I'm actually part of them, but, you know, whatever happened to fair and balanced reporting? It almost seems like it doesn't exist. So it sounds like we're coming up near the break, and when I come back, we're going to wrap up with what's coming up, and we're going to go from there. This is Jon Adams with Talk of the Town. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Hey, welcome to the final segment of Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. We have been talking about the City Commission. I would say this is the winter of my discontent, but these are things that we need to talk about, and we need to have the dialogue. We need to have the conversation as citizens. We don't have to agree. I mean, we don't have to even see eye to eye, but we should be having dialogue. You know, that was what this show is all about. But I want to pivot because when I was at Morehead State, I belonged to a fraternity called the Old Order of Owls. And it was a fraternity, and I joined along with Leo Ballard and Mike Larson. And I joined because of all the things that I heard about the fraternity, which is brotherhood and unity, being a part of something great, you know, giving back to the community. And so I went through and I became an active member. And I could say that a lot of those guys that I was in the fraternity with, I'm still friends, very close friends with now. And early this year, we had a brother that committed suicide, okay? And we recognized a need that within our fraternity where we wanted to do something great. We no longer have the fraternity at Morehead State, but what we do have is we have started what's called the Owl Legacy Foundation. And the purpose of the foundation is to give back to former members and sweethearts, as well as provide money to students at Morehead State University. And it's been in the making now for 4 or 5 months, and we're almost ready to launch, but this group, it speaks to the importance of belonging. And I have lifelong friends that I met 30 some odd years ago. And I wanted to say that first, you have to be involved, you know, and the fraternity, as much as we had the parties and all that, there was a lot of community outreach that done. And when we started this foundation, the Legacy Foundation, we founded it with the idea that we still need to give back. A lot of us have been successful in a lot of different areas, and we recognize that there are brothers in need, but we also recognize that there are students in need, and so we put together this foundation with the idea that we want to be part of the MSU community again in a meaningful way. And so in the coming weeks, I'm going to talk about the foundation, and this is the first, well, no, actually, this is the second time I talked about it, but we all need to be a part. We all need to be engaged in the community that helps move us forward. So the foundation is established to do just that. And our launch will be during MSUM's homecoming, which I believe is the 10th or the 11th. It's somewhere in that week, and we will be at the football game. It is a nonprofit organization, and we are raising money that, like I said, will go to help former members and sweethearts, as well as students at Morehead State. So with that, I want to say that I'm very happy about that. I think it's something that's going to be worthwhile. But these are the things that help move our community forward. So I want to give a special shout out to Don Groth, who's now he's working at MSU in the fundraising department, as well as Mike Sullivan, Scott Hambrook, and Mr. Valesky, brothers that are out there trying to get it done so we can create an entity that's long-lasting and has an effect, a positive effect on the Morehead State community and the community at large. So I just wanted to give that shout-out. I'm hoping to have an OWL section from time to time featuring some of our members doing great things in the community. Most people don't know this, but there's a lot of OWL history in the very foundation of Morehead State University. I mean, there are buildings that are named after former Owls. Just the campus layout is very significant in as far as our fraternity goes. But I wanted to mention that because I wanted to leave off on a positive note. But, you know, this is part of the overall thing. It's very easy to become self-centered and be more about what you want and your family's needs. But, you know, growing up, we all looked out for everybody, you know? I said it before, my community growing up in Minneapolis, everybody looked out for everybody. And the Legacy Foundation is a way for me and my other frat brothers to reach out, to do outreach in the community and help people that may need help, students that may need help. So with that, believe it or not, the hour is almost up. I got about a minute left, but this show, I hope that people took something from it that they could use, but more than that, I hope that people realize that we live in a great part of the world. And it's not lost on me, and it shouldn't be lost on you. Do we have issues? Yes. But for the most part, I believe that people in Fargo, we want what's best. We just need to be involved in the process to move the needle forward. This has been Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Skol Vikings, go Bison, go Dragons, go Cobbers. And as always, stay black.